So then you and your two friends jump back in the car again?
No, actually, I stood over Jimmy's body, and one of the Latin Kings' car passed by. And when it was one of the Kings, and of course, he recognized me because, like I said, my stepfather. So instead of, I'm thinking in my head, he's going to go get the Latin Kings. We finna die right here. But instead, he called my stepfather, and he told my father, your daughter just killed one of our boys. He didn't know nothing about the boy in the bathroom. He just saw the body outside. So he made a deal with my stepfather. So instead of going to get the Latin Kings, he went and picked up some drugs for my dad, and I was able to get out the park alive.
Okay. So now you get out of the parking lot, you and the two girls drive off.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
We head to the neighborhood. Of course, bitches will be bitches. The girls started bragging about it. Oh, Loca D did this, Loca did this, Loca did that. So they bragged to the wrong person. One of the girls that they were bragging to ended up getting locked up with some kilo of cocaine that night. So she ended up turning us in to get free.
Okay. Well, that's happening, without you knowing. Yeah. So this girl is now starting to cooperate with the police, but you still think that you got away with it to a certain degree because the Latin King who saw you got paid off. He's not going to say anything. So you went to a hotel, right?
Yeah, I actually ran because my stepfather was making me come home. I was supposed to go to Puerto Rico. And he kept telling me, my mom was going to pack my clothes at my house. And I was actually supposed to be going to Puerto Rico, but I wasn't going to miss the funeral. So I went to a hotel room with the folks.
Okay, and then the next day you went to the funeral?
Yep.
And you and the mother had a conversation at that point?
Yep. We organized the way we was going to we went in the funeral. All of us went in the funeral, every other person, you know what I'm saying? Because we really believed that it was going to be a problem. So we went prepared for problems. So we went in, we put a flower on the casket, and then went to the mother, and I just gave her a dozen of roses and told her I did it.
How did she react?
She just cried and said, thank you.
At that moment, did you feel a sense of closure over the whole situation?
Yeah, but I knew it was going to be some consequences behind it. But I didn't think it would be prison time.
Okay. So, behind your back, the police now know that you and the other two girls did it, and they're now preparing to arrest you.
Yeah, there was actually surveillance outside the funeral home we didn't know nothing about.
Right. So they actually arrest you at the funeral home?
They arrested us leaving the funeral home, going back to the neighborhood. Once we got in the neighborhood, that's when they arrested us.
When they arrested you, what went through your head?
They never said it was for the murders. When they came, now mind you, we deep as fuck. You know what I'm saying? We just came from a funeral. So a lot of us is out there. So as I was giving up my guns, because I'm going to Puerto Rico now. You know what I'm saying? So as I was giving up my guns, Muñeca called me to the corner and was like, man, what's up? You gonna say bye without me? You gonna leave without saying bye? So as I walked over to her to give her a handshake, the police came. So I'm like, what the fuck? But the first thing I get to yelling is, I'm 15 years old, don't handcuff me. So that's when everybody got to realizing, what the fuck did she just say? All I heard was whispers like, what the fuck? And the police was like, what? And I was like, I'm 15 years old, don't handcuff me. My cousin was like, she's 15. So we was in the police car. Muñeca had informed me at that moment that the night before they jumped on a pregnant girl. So she thought that's what we was getting locked up for. We didn't know we was getting locked up for the murder until the detectives drove us to the scene of the crime. And when they took us to the park, they pulled out a gun and they said, which one of y'all want to take this gun and shoot me in the back of the head while I'm using the bathroom? So at that moment, that's when I knew what I was fucking locked up for. Then they took us to Beach and Spalding, which is the heart of Latin Kings, had them Latin Kings surround my car, well, the police car, and I was in the back seat. And one of them had a gun to the window, and they was like, yeah, that's her. At that moment, I realized, I'm looking at it now, thinking back, I realized I was a child for real, because all I remember saying was, "It wasn't me. What are you talking about? It wasn't me." At that moment, a child came out. But that's how I knew I was locked up. I was being locked up for murder.